Now anyone who bought the Durston Gear X Dome might get a little bit annoyed about this video. You may or may not be aware, but a new fly has come out for the X Dome. So it's the Generation 2 or version 2 fly that has come out to replace the previous model. Now this could be annoying for people who've already bought the X Dome, but it's not entirely a bad thing, and I'll tell you the reasons why. So when someone brings out a new tent, or anything else for that matter, let's take cars for instance, what generally tends to happen is they'll have a life cycle. So for example, cars are generally 7 years, so that model comes out 7 years, the new model comes out again after that. Halfway through that point there is generally a refresh, so a facelift as they call it, and it's very similar with tents for the main brand manufacturers. So people like Van Gogh, Terra Nova, they bring out a tent, they don't change it until the next model comes out. Now in that situation you've got two options really. You either jump on the bandwagon straight away and have the first model of that car on the road before anyone else sees it, so you're the first out there, or get that tent before anyone else does, so you can get your Insta pictures up and your YouTube videos up before anyone else does as well. Or you wait until it becomes a bit more mainstream, people on YouTube start to do reviews on it and pick out the problems, possible faults and issues with either the tent or the car, and then that way you can make an informed judgment purchase and decide whether or not you actually want to go ahead and buy it. Now anything that comes out when it first comes out will always have some kind of a fault or an issue or something you just don't like about it, and the choice is there. You either just put up with it. If you can whistle as well, that'd be really good. If you can whistle while you're doing that as well, that'd be really good. Twat. Now when something first comes out, there will generally always be a fault with it, or a design that you don't like specifically that doesn't suit you. At least you are aware of what you're getting when you buy it, and you can make that informed decision then. The downside is if you like it and you want to put up with those problems, you've got to put up with them for the next 7 years. However, there are some manufacturers, cottage ones, that take on board feedback from people like me on YouTube and other people on Instagram, social media, that go back to them and say, don't like this, this is a fault, this is a weak point, or with some suggestions for a change on it. And when they make a change and bring out a new model 5 months, 6 months later, then there's a bit of a kick-off for people who've got the old model, but at least they are doing something to change it. If they weren't of that ilk and they didn't make those changes, then you'd be stuck with that model anyway. So it makes a zero difference to you. Now in all honesty, the changes that have been made to the X Dome are minor. There's one, I think, that is a major one that it needed, but the rest are just minor. So at least now if you have bought an X Dome 1 Plus, you could still sell it and get decent money for it, and all of the new ones, so it's not going to cost you as much to upgrade. But again, the choice is yours. You can either stick with what you've got or change it and swap it out to the new model. At least you have that option that you wouldn't have had if you bought, say, a Terra Nova or a Van Gogh or another larger branded tent manufacturer. Now obviously when this tent first came out, there was an issue with the poles. Everyone knows about it. All the poles were replaced for every single person who bought the X Dome. Whether you had a fault with the pole or not, you got a new replacement set. So that sort of shows how good Dan is with his customer service. He does not want his customers to have issues with his tents going forward. That is a design fault. The changes that he's made is not a fault, it's just an improvement. I bought the X Mid, I think in its second version when it came out, and it's been changed probably twice, I think, since then, and improved. I'm not fussed about it, it's still a great tent. Now I'm not going to show you me putting it up, I'm going to put the tent up and I will show you the differences that are on the new Fly in comparison to the previous model. And then you can gauge whether or not you think it's worthwhile up changing. Okay, so it's a lot windier than it was forecast to be tonight actually. But the main differences on the Fly, obviously apart from the new pole set, which is now obviously resolved any problems with the poles, the old Fly had a single guy out at the top here. Now this is the only real, I think, improvement and change on the tent. The biggest one is an additional guy out point at the bottom. What you did find was the big gap between the peg at the bottom and the top guy out point. This would bow in the wind, so having this additional guy out strap that you can wrap around the poles makes a big difference. One thing Dan didn't do, which a few people have mentioned, and he did actually comment when I said about it as well, was to make these longer. As you can see, it's only just around the pole. I've got these quick release tiny little carabiners, but it only just goes around the pole. I'd like to see them just 2 inches longer, but that's not been changed, which is a shame. The other difference is, I'll show you a picture now between the two. They've now got new holes where the pole goes into. So these are a lot easier to get in and out, which initially when I thought they were quite tough to get in and out, I thought it was a good idea because they didn't pop out accidentally, but they're also a major pain to get in and out while you're setting it up, especially in the wind. So this has been changed now on the solid inner, which I've got underneath here, and on the new tent fly. The other thing as well, the webbing that has been used on the straps has been made thicker, stronger, more abrasive resistant, because obviously that can be flat on the floor depending upon how you got the tent pitched and can wear a lot, so that has been made stronger as well. Apparently the vents, the guy out points on the vents have been bar tacked as well, so these are a lot stronger. Someone commented that I shouldn't have used a guy line on this in high winds, but that's the whole point of having a tab there, is to put a guy line on it. You can't have too many on there. The tent feels incredibly solid. The door is open at the moment, which obviously reduces the strength and rigidity of the tent, but it is incredibly solid with these 4 guy lines on the corners. But again, this has been bar tacked now, so that is stronger. To save using half a dozen pegs as well, the guy lines that I've got them attached just to 1 peg. You only need 1 peg. You could in effect have 1 single guy line that loops around, but I like to be able to adjust them individually. So I've got 2 separate guy lines, but going down to the same peg. And obviously I have the 4-season inner in it, which I've already done a video on, so I'll put a link in the screen above if you want to watch that, with my sort of overview and showing you what the 4-season inner comes with. So other than that, there's pretty much no changes to it, yeah, which is a good thing. It's not going to cause a huge amount of upset. As I say, the guy out points are really the only big thing that's made a change, and I think that's made a big difference to the tent. But you know, up to you guys. You could use your original one that you've got for the next 6 months or a year, sell it for 200 quid, spend another £100 and get the new one. Anyway, this is only a very, very short video, so I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, as always, hit a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, because about 70% of my viewers are not subscribers. So hit the subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one.